Welcome back to the secret underground lair. So we're continuing to work today on the Y rail axis. I have printed a few more parts on the 3D printer. I'll show you what those are all about. This is the motor mount that was done on our last video, going through FreeCAD and 3D printing. So some other parts done, some other parts have arrived. Let's do this Y rail. That's today's adventure. So one of the keys to getting the Y rail to move back and forth is affixing the end of the belt to the sled itself. So I did a couple iterations of this little bracket here, ultimately winding up with something that works like this. So the belt comes in, goes around that little peg and back out, and the belt overlaps itself so that it kind of locks onto itself here so it won't slip, and going around that, there's no way that it's going to move in or out. As this gets bolted down to the sled itself, there'll be a washer. This isn't the washer, obviously, but there'll be a washer that sits here, or a bracket that sits here and keeps that belt from popping out. So that belt's not going to move anywhere. So the concept being, this little bracket will be mounted to the sled. This belt will go around there, lock in the way this locks in. Come back here through the motor, around this bracket, right down on the inside of these brackets here, the sled brackets, all the way down to that end where this piece is going to be mounted. And then the belt will come back down and lock into here. This will be mounted onto the sled about there. So by turning the motor, we'll be able to move the sled back and forth. I have got a larger stepper driver that should be able to power that motor reasonably well. So we'll get that connected once we have the sled brackets in place. I have a little bit of work to do. I want to tighten this up. There's a little bit of movement here. I can't have that, so we're going to make some adjustment capability on these brackets here to let me tighten up that tolerance. For a router sled, that really didn't matter a lot, but on a CNC machine, I've got about 1 millimeter of play there, maybe a little over 1 millimeter. That's way, way, way beyond what's acceptable, so we'll get that tightened up. But for now, we'll work on these brackets and mounting this onto here. So I know that this pulley here, the back of the belt, is to be 26 millimeters from this edge. Being 26 millimeters from the edge and 12 millimeters in the center of the pulley, from one side of the pulley to the other, that's 12 millimeters. The center of the hole then is 6 millimeters. So 26 plus 6 is 32. So I drew a line here at 32 millimeters. And drilled that hole. I put it 50 millimeters back from the front of this. So when we mount the next stepper motor in here for the Y-axis, there's just a little bit of clearance. So with that mounted, all I need to do now is get this square. I want this edge to be 90 degrees to that. And then I can drill these 4 holes. So I'll get this lined up with my little square and then put those holes in. So I have this now squared up and clamped in place. So I can drill, we'll drill 3 holes, get some bolts in there, and then drill the 4th hole. And that's how the stepper motor will be mounted. So I like that. So I need to get the pulley on the bottom of the stepper motor. So I'll go get that, put that on, and then we can hold that motor down using some nylon lock nuts. So we'll get that firmed up. Back in a minute. So here's the motor put in place, just kind of set in place. The belt coming from our little loop, I have to push that in a little bit farther. Through here, around the motor, through the gap around this pulley, and then down to the far side, to our little pulley block there, and back up, and I just have it clamped on loosely on this end. But I have a mistake. I made a mistake. As you can see, this belt is lying flat, and that is because the top of the sled has not been accounted for. I had been kind of under the assumption, or I did the design under the assumption that the top of the sled was even with the top of this, and it is not. It is off by a 1/4 of an inch, probably about 3/16 of an inch. I'll measure it. What that means then is that this block that I have here, I need to make this sit about 3/16 of an inch higher than it currently is, and same thing with the block at the other end. Now what I'll likely do is just print a little spacer piece that I can slip in there, and that will raise the block up. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll take another crack at this. But I just kind of wanted to give you a quick update here on how things are progressing, and you can see how this is going to move. I need to get the stepper motor wired into our new controller, but I'll do that on our next episode. So just a short video today, just to show you how this x-axis or the y-axis is progressing. And yeah, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next video.